Okay. Welcome, everyone. Can you hear me all right out there in the cheap seats in the back? Thanks for being here. It's so funny because when we arranged this time, TJ there in the back, I was like, who's going to come out at 2 p.m. on a Thursday to hear a talk about coyotes? And look at this, almost every seat is full. So round of applause for all of you. As you can see, we have a special speaker here today. This is Angus, and I'm sure Rebecca's going to talk a little bit about him. Before I turn the microphone over to Micah Curtis, who's the director of the Wildlife Center, I want to give a plug for something that's coming up that I think most of you would like to attend if you're available. It's on Earth Day, April 22nd. It's the Saving Nature Film Festival, and this is brought to you by the Oswald Land Trust. I should say I'm Tamara Hedges, by the way, and I'm on the board of the Desert Wildlife Center, Greater Palm Springs Animal Allies, and Oswald Land Trust. And we have this fantastic all-day nature film festival happening on April 22nd, and it's at the Palm Springs Cultural Center. I brought some flyers. They're on the table in the back, so pick that up. We're still looking for sponsors, and tickets are just $25 for that. And the last thing I want to say is thank you to our guardians of the wild. Raise your hand if you are a guardian of the wild. We got one here. Anybody else? Yeah? In the back? What is the Guardians of the Wild, you ask? Guardians of the Wild is a group of people that care about wildlife, care about education around wildlife and conservation, and they are the sponsors of today's lecture. So we're very, very grateful to our Guardians of the Wild. They support the educational programming that we started this year. Actually, we started in the fall of 2025, and we're going to be doing all year long this year and next year, and it's an annual membership fee starting at $250, and it goes on up. I want to particularly thank Linda Talley and Ron Norris. They're our title sponsors, so thank you very much. I know Ron's right up here in front. I don't know if you raised your hand, Ron, but thank you, and thank you, Linda. A round of applause. We have flyers in the back for the Guardians of the Wild program, and also want to thank the founding supporters at the Desert Wildlife Center. I know many of you are in the room too. We wouldn't have been able to open the Desert Wildlife Center last year in July if it weren't for your generosity. So without further ado, Micah Curtis.
Hello, everyone. My name is Micah. I'm the director of the Desert Wildlife Center. I'll make this quick, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we are in our baby season now. So whether it's coyote pups that you're going to be seeing or baby birds, we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of wild animals this time of year. So really excited to share this presentation with you. I've actually worked with Rebecca before. She's an incredible humane wildlife removal service. And so she is really working with these animals and working with you or with whatever company she's working with to make sure that we can find a solution to help remove maybe animals from an area they're not supposed to be in without harming them or the ecosystem. It's a one and done solution, so I'm really excited for her to share all of that. She'll be here afterwards, I believe, to answer any questions, but truly very passionate about what she does, and it shows. And then just some, again, exciting news for the Desert Wildlife Center. We are in our baby season, so I've got great horned owl babies, I've got squirrels, opossums, phoebes, finches. So we're really excited to be that resource for Coachella Valley wildlife that really need a safe landing space while they're healing and growing. So thank you so much for your donations, whether it's through Guardians of the Wildlife or just donating for our baby shower. We're really, really grateful to be that resource. And anyways, really excited to share this with you guys. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you all for being here. This amazing, sold-out crowd here. Okay, wonderful. My name's Rebecca Dimitrick. Just a little history is I've been working with wildlife for about 40 years, actually over 40 years, mostly in wildlife rescue and rehabilitation. And then through that work, I was getting more and more calls about animals in trouble, like nuisance animals, people wanting to just get rid of them, not knowing how to deal with them. And so my husband and I, about 13 years ago, we started Humane Wildlife Control, Inc., to offer an alternative approach to resolving these wildlife issues, one that incorporates environmental stewardship and respect for all animals. So dogs, as you can tell, dogs have been a huge part of my life since childhood, and I've always had this really deep respect for the wild canids, especially the coyote. This is an eastern coyote. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my gosh. So my deep connection with dogs, all dogs, is the reason why I've dedicated much of my time and effort to coyote. I call it coyote intervention. Our coyote intervention program is built around education, assessment, and action. We offer in-person, online presentations, one-on-one presentations, guidance to residents, and we work directly with government agencies, conducting population assessments, behavior evaluations, neighborhood audits, and we help them develop more progressive coyote response plans, which we'll talk about later. These are all very science-based, and that's what we want. We want to be grounded in truth when we talk about coyote. So with that, let me introduce you to coyote. First of all, there's a lot of confusion as to where coyotes originated, but archaeological evidence proves that coyotes were here, widely distributed, even on the West Coast, thousands of years ago, at least 4,000 years ago. And today, there are 19 recognized subspecies of coyotes. For example, in Los Angeles area, we have the valley coyote, and this is kind of what it would look like. A typical West Coast coyote looks like this. It's very long-legged, lean, built for distance, and they weigh about 20 to 30 pounds. 35 is heavy. Now this is science, and that's it. Now they'll look bigger, they have a lot of hair, and also fear can make things look bigger. Seriously. So for comparison, let's look at this. We've got the California gray fox on the left, and then we've got the red fox, it's a little bigger, followed by the coyote, and then compared to a German shepherd and a gray wolf. Coyotes are so amazing. If you're a dog person, it's okay to love coyote, and I'm going to teach you. Because how can you not love your dog's genius cousin? So coyotes can live solitary, nomadic lives, meaning they roam far and wide, and you'll hear me refer to them as transients. Or they can live as partners, a male and a female pair. They form the foundation of a family unit. We don't call them packs because packs are for wolves. Wolves live in packs. Coyotes form family units. The family unit, the pair, the male and female, I often refer to them as the king and the queen because they defend a kingdom. They establish a kingdom and they defend it and they keep all other coyotes out. And that's a good thing. So by the end of this presentation, you're going to want to live in a coyote family territory. So this is really important that the solitary coyotes, the transients, don't defend territory. They don't have territories. They just range far and wide. And they have really big home ranges. They can be as big as 10 square miles or greater. And that's in stark contrast to a mated pair, a king and a queen. They'll hold a territory, keeping the other coyotes out, and in an urban setting, depending on the food resources, which is a key point here, the territories can be as small as a half square mile. So when you look at this in the green, that's a half square mile, as opposed to the 10 square miles of the entire slide you're looking at. This is such an important point to understand. I think it's well presented here. I'm going to play a clip by Dr. Stan Garrett, his presentation called Coyotes Among Us. If you're able to go online and watch it in its entirety, it's amazing. So let me play this clip by him, and he'll talk about what we were just going over. Let's see if this plays.
All of these polygons represent the resident territories of groups of coyotes living in different parts of that landscape. Those are the residents. And then we have the solitary transients. The transients are loners that have left their packs, are now floating across that landscape, but they're still staying within the Chicago region. So in fact, they're still overlapping in many cases with their natal range, with the pack that they were born from, but they can't stay there. So coyotes are very picky, and only the alpha pair will mate. So once their offspring get to a certain age, and if they start to become sexually mature, they are excluded from the territory, and then they become solitary. These transients, there's relatively little research has been done on them historically because they're hard to study. But what we're finding is that they're really important to understanding the dynamics of the population locally. And they're one of the big reasons why if you attempt to remove coyotes from an area, let's say you do, it's only going to be a temporary situation because they will be replaced by other coyotes. And this is one of the big reasons why. It's because of these solitary transients. They quickly fill the void. They're just floating around looking for a vacancy. So when you create that vacancy, they fill it almost immediately.
Great. So the takeaway point is we can't kill our way out of coyote problems. You remove one and another one fills its place quickly because of those transients. So coyotes, another really cool thing and a reason to love them is they are known to be 100% monogamous. You know, oh, you old dog. Well, not anymore. Coyotes are 100% monogamous, very unique in the canine world. A coyote family, it can also include, besides the king and the queen, it can include a helper. We call them helpers, or two, sometimes more if the resources are great enough. The helpers are offspring from a previous litter, staying on to help raise the next generation pups. Seasonally, so this is why, let me go back for a second. This is why the number of coyotes in an area, in a kingdom, stays relatively static, the same. Because you've got the king and the queen, the male and female, and sometimes a helper or two, but not always. So you can kind of count on that. We're going to go over this again later or continuously because this is a really important part. And why killing doesn't work. In fact, it makes the situation worse. The numbers remain static because it's just the bonded pair and maybe the helper or two. And so as you see in the spring, you'll have the pups that are born, but the pups disperse. They're kicked out at the end of the season. And that's why, again, you'll see this later, is seasonality, you'll have an uptick with the babies and you'll have more sightings. And then towards winter, they're going to go away. They leave the area, except maybe a helper or two. So it's better to live in a coyote kingdom because you'll have the stability there. So let's talk about one of the ways coyotes protect their territory is by communicating to other coyotes through vocalization. It's how they stay in touch with family members as well. Their vocalizations are really unique. You've probably heard them, and they have some really amazing sounds. And what happens is, because of the sounds that they make and how it travels through the environment, it can sound like there's many more than there really are. 2 can sound like 4. 3 can sound like 6. So let's check it out. And even close your eyes for a minute, and how many do you count? Coyotes follow a pretty predictable seasonal cycle too. In winter, in December, January, they pair up, they mate, and again, they're monogamous, so those will court and mate. And towards spring, right now is when we can expect pups to be born in March, April. Both parents become protective of their pups, and we call it reactive towards other dogs, other canids at this time. Over the summer, the pups start to explore, and by late summer into fall, when food and water is scarce, you're going to see an uptick in sightings. That's normal. And that's also when the pups start to disperse out of their territory. So we're going to take a closer look at this. I'm so glad I hear that instead of ah. So let's take a closer look. Coyotes only use what are called dens. We call them the natal den, meaning the pups are born there. They use that only for the first few weeks. During that time, if the parents are disturbed at all, it might look something like this. They're going to move the pups just like a cat would. Here she is carrying her baby. You'll see her. She was disturbed wherever they were, trying to move the little pups to a safer spot. Very dedicated parents. Come on, give it to me. So if you come across a gorgeous little pup like this, reach out to your local wildlife rehabilitation center and just let them know. Ask them for their guidance, because more than likely it's not abandoned. It may be that the mother, father were moving the pups and they just couldn't finish that move. So take some time, let them reunite. This is one situation that my colleague from Coyote Watch Canada was involved with. There's a period of time where coyotes, the pups are too big to carry in the mouth, but too small to travel safely by the parent's side. And so they're stuck. They need to move, but they can't. So we need to give them some time to stay there and figure that out. About 8 to 12 weeks of age, as the pups become more curious and very rambunctious, the family, they're going to shift away from that natal den site to above ground resting spots. This could be some bushes in the neighborhood where it's kind of quiet. We call them rendezvous sites. So they'll kind of hang out. They'll leave the pups there. They'll go out, do scavenging, come back. And these, there's not just one or two. There's probably multiple already staked out in the neighborhood where they know they can put the babies safely. So that's what they do the rest of the year. Now, I just want to make a quick note here that springtime is when the species have babies. It's also the time when humans do a lot of weed whacking. And so plan accordingly. If you know that you're in a coyote kingdom and you're going to expect pups around March, it's a good time to do weed whacking in February, late February, and then try and not do it, if possible, till later on in May, if you can wait that long safely. As pups grow, they begin exploring their home territory, and daylight sightings are very, very common. These teenagers, they're fearful of humans, but they're also really, really confused. And so they may hesitate before retreating from people, and we get this every year. Oh, there's a bold coyote out there, just stood there staring at me. Well, that time of year, again, things are predictable in a coyote kingdom. That time of year, you've got a teenager out in the daylight that's trying to disperse, and it doesn't know what to do. It's scared to death, sometimes curious. They're also very curious of dogs. So people tend to think that they're bold or threatening, and they're not. They're just youngsters that don't know what to do. They're also they also step into traffic, the youngsters. They're not very savvy around traffic. Okay, so if you're lucky enough to reside in a coyote territory, in a kingdom, life becomes very predictable. And when things are predictable, you can be better prepared, right? Okay, let's look at the coyote diet real quick. Coyotes are what we call opportunistic foragers. They're basically omnivores. They eat anything, anything that's not too much trouble. So, but mostly it's rabbits followed by rabbits. You have a lot of that out here. Coyotes also eat fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and even grasses. Numerous studies have confirmed rodents and rabbits make up the largest share of the coyote diet, even in an urban setting. Ornamental tree fruits make up another second largest amount. Then anthropogenic or human-sourced foods, including wrappers, food wrappers. Yeah, followed by cats in this one study, 11%, and invertebrates, insects, and then birds also were in there. Now, pet food was found rarely, and domestic dog was rarely present. So when we look at the data from numerous studies combining all of this, again, it shows that rodents and rabbits made up the bulk of the diet, and then about 40 to 60% of scat content, and fruits representing 20 to 25%. But again, when we look at all these studies combined, domestic cats and dogs rarely appeared in the diets, confirming that dogs and cats are not a huge part of their diet, and we'll talk about that in a sec. So when interpreting all these studies, we have to be very cautious in our assumptions. The presence of a certain animal doesn't automatically mean that the coyote killed that animal. Remember, they're scavengers, they're opportunistic. So it could have found that animal deceased on the road and just made that an easy meal for itself. Okay, talking about cats. I was photographing this coyote, it has mange, and I was tracking it in a Northern California neighborhood. And this cat walks right out behind it. I'm like, what are you doing? And the coyote's just sitting there scratching, looks at the cat, doesn't pay it any mind. So anyway, coyotes don't automatically recognize cats as prey. To a coyote, a cat it's a novel item, a novel prey item. So it takes time, it takes repeated exposure, if ever, for a coyote to eat and want to eat cats. Now, they do learn it, and there's video showing it, so they do learn to eat cats, but whose fault is that? Yeah. So that's up to us to keep, humans. But just the point is, not all coyotes eat cats. And not all coyotes eat dogs. In fact, they don't. They're not cannibals. This is one of the most important myths to correct. Coyotes are not hunting dogs for food. Decades of scat and stomach content analysis that we talked about has confirmed this. However, the coyotes, especially those, the king and the queen, that are defending the territory, defending their mate, defending their pups, they're going to view other canids, whether it's a dog or a fox, as a rival or a threat. That's what it's all about, and there's research to prove it. So here's a clip again from Dr. Stan Garrett explaining this phenomenon.
One of our sources of conflict between coyotes and people are their threats to dogs. And it does occasionally happen. Fortunately, it's very rare. It's extremely rare when you consider that their natural instinct is to remove the competing dog-like animal from their territories.
So transient coyotes, remember the nomadic ones that travel far and wide? They're without a territory, without a mate, without pups. They're generally less likely to have conflicts with pets, but resident pairs with a territory expect them to be defensive. It's natural. Hey, buddy. Hi, Angus. Yeah, he'll just truck around. He says hi. He's just... So if you're in a resident pair's territory, expect them to be defensive, especially during pup season. So remember, it's predictable. It's better to have something that's predictable, I think. So they're going to be a little defensive. And what people describe as this, like it could be described as stalking, a coyote following behind someone that's walking a dog, is what we actually call escorting or shepherding. The coyote is sending a message to the dog, not you, doesn't care about you, cares about your dog. And it'll look at your dog. It's not going to look at you. Angus, no. Come down. Anyway, it's called escorting or shepherding, and it's messaging your dog. It's following your dog to say, you better stay out of here. And it's just walking along, making sure, because you've gotten too close to their pups or something that they're protecting. That's what it's about. Now, this behavior, again, it's not predatory, it's defensive. But if the dog or a person reacts poorly, this situation can escalate. In extreme cases, you're going to see this behavior. We call it informally the alligator walk. It's this arched back, it's got its tail tucked, its head is open, teeth are showing, and that's all it's got for now. But it can escalate. It's trying to make itself look really big and serious, sending a message to just back off. But if the threat does persist, it might escalate into a lunge and a quick snap, often in the air, not making physical contact at all. It doesn't want to bother. It doesn't. It's a peaceful, civil animal. So you're going to see this behavior clearly in the next videos. They're pretty cool. This one is among wild members of a family. What is wrong with that dog?
You're getting them on the bank.
All right. Chasing him off a meal. This is one where this poor injured coyote is lying, he's just minding his own business, and somebody with some off-leash dogs disturb it, and you'll see its reaction.
There's a dog going after. That's why he's growling, because this guy's dog. He's not well. That's why he's in that. See, here's the other dog that is not knowing what to do with this wonderful animal here.
That's all he's got. That's all he's going to give.
Well, wild is boss. And now we have more loose dogs. What a beautiful animal. He doesn't look afraid at all of that domestic dog over there. I've got bull terriers coming at me on this trail now. Oh, he's got a busted paw. All right, I'm going to hold for a second.
So now there's another reason a coyote might follow or even approach a person where there's no dog involved. I want you to remember that distinction. The community needs to be really aware and alert of this, because this kind of behavior is not about defending pups, but about conditioning to come close to people. And if it's happening, it needs to be addressed and reversed immediately so it doesn't escalate. Coyotes have a natural respect for humans, and they want to avoid encounters with us. They're also very, very highly intelligent wild dogs that can be conditioned or trained to come close if there's a reward for doing so, if the juice is worth the squeeze. Two distinct behaviors develop. Food conditioning, which is when a coyote, let's say, finds a reliable dog bowl of food in the backyard. If it encounters a person, it's going to run, because it's conditioned just to that backyard and that food bowl. But there's also the human-conditioned coyote, and this is one that's been rewarded for approaching people. They've been trained to relate the reward with the human physical presence. They'll tend to loiter in one area, like in a parking lot or a front yard. That's also behavior you want to be aware of. They're waiting for a handout, like this one. A human-conditioned coyote may also follow or approach a person, similar to how a jackal in Africa might trail a lion, knowing it could lead to a meal that it could scavenge. Again, this behavior is not predatory, but it can escalate. For example, out of frustration, this jackal displays what could best be described as demand behavior, nipping at a lion's tail in an attempt to move it off the food. This is an extreme case. This coyote, his name is Hot Dog, and he's in Mammoth Lakes, and somebody has trained him to come close to people for handouts, and you'll notice this person has already fed him something because he's going nom, nom, nom. Also notice his fingers don't show any signs of injury afterwards.
Come here. It's cold, I know. You're freezing. You got a lot of fur, though. Ow, mother...
Okay. And in this video, this is Carl, very sad. This is Carl. He's from San Francisco. He was in the Golden Gate Park. He'd been hand-fed by people for many years. Here he is approaching a family of people feeding ducks, a child and I think a father feeding ducks. And it's the feeding. It's the plastic bag noise and the tossing of the food and the ducks coming in to eat that's like, oh, food. So he's like going over there. He wasn't after the child at all, but because he got close, it was basically his death sentence. But This case shows clearly how what we call, again, human conditioning can create another big word, proximity tolerance. Their tolerance for being in close proximity to humans, which scares people and can lead to a bite. But this animal was after the food. But it's still scary for people. But here's the thing, when you see something like close to this happening early on, we need to all know about it so it can be prevented. So this termination of an animal's life like that doesn't happen, so it doesn't ever get to this point. It's absolutely preventable. Here's another example of human-conditioned coyotes in the town of Woodland Hills, California. It was just blocks away from where a child was bitten. Again, early intervention can turn this behavior around. And here's one in Pasadena. You're going to hear my voice anyway, so I'm not going to talk it through unless I have to later, but let me play it.
This is a perfect example of what we refer to as a human-conditioned coyote. It's basically been hand-fed by someone, trained or conditioned to approach people for food. It basically associates humans with handouts. And yet, as you'll see in a second, it's still skittish and fearful. Next, we're going to test how this coyote responds to a dog. And as we expected, it begins posturing defensively, protective of this area, possibly a nearby food resource, and its mate. She's in the backyard of this home. Next, we escalate the pressure by hazing the coyote with a scare stick and barking dog. The dog was then confined, and we documented the male again. Curious, gentle face, not reactive towards people. Finally, its mate heads out, and he follows. We apply hazing to hopefully send a message that this property is no longer safe.
Get out of here! Go on! So the good news is the coyote, once we did that kind of aggressive hazing, strategic hazing, and we also put some deterrence in this particular woman's backyard where they had been hanging out, and we cleared the brush and everything. The coyotes weren't seen on that block for over 2 weeks. So it works. It works. And just to be clear, you're seeing me use my dog in a very specific way, Angus. He's trained to locate coyotes for me, and he responds to cues from me, but he's never allowed to chase them. That's just not appropriate, and it's not best practice. In fact, allowing a dog to chase a coyote can lead to what's called trigger stacking. It's building heightened reactivity towards animosity towards dogs over time, and that is not what we want. One last thing before moving on. Sometimes people misinterpret a lot of times people misinterpret what they're seeing regarding coyotes. Sometimes coyotes are going to walk straight towards people to get around them. And I've had this happen quite a few times, even with children, describing how the coyote attacked the child at a bus stop. No, the bus stop and the group of children were in its path. It had nothing to do with going after the children. It was just simply going from point A to point B, and the humans were in its path. So it's a good time to emphasize the importance of accurate reporting. Words matter. By choosing words that are accurate and grounded in science, we can help keep this conversation about coyotes real and less emotional. For example, one might report this as an attack on a dog. But really, it could best be described, we use the word interaction or altercation, and we distinguish between physical contact or not. For accuracy, we have to choose our words carefully. You'll notice we stay away from using the word attack because it can mean all sorts of things. Instead, interaction, altercation. Also, if a coyote bites a person or a pet, plain and simple, a bite is a bite. We also avoid using the word, we talked about family units before, pack, that's for wolves. And we also avoid using the word habituation because it's not really accurate. Here's an important thing to remember. Coyotes never lose their fear of humans, ever. So habituation is just not scientifically accurate. I was recently asked, how do we deal with a lot of this information, especially the stuff that circulates online? It causes some, the hysteria, sensationalized stories, emotionally charged posts that spread and fuel fear. Well, here's the thing. For the people experiencing that fear, I've had it with domestic dogs. Some of you may have experienced it with coyotes. That fear is absolutely real. And when fear takes over, it's easy to dismiss science and facts, but that doesn't mean we stop trying. We keep listening and we keep delivering the science-based facts. And because people, when they're given science and the facts and practical tools that they can use, fear gets placed with confidence. All right, moving on, let's talk about coyotes in the landscape and how humans, you guys, can influence their presence and prevalence, especially in the urban landscape. We hear this a lot from people. Why are they here? They're frustrated. They want them gone from the city, the residential neighborhoods, etc., wondering, how do I get rid of them? And I want you to look at this interface between the wild and the cityscape. And if you were looking for food or water, where would you go? The city. McDonald's, the city, of course, 24/7. So in the city, because of us, food and water resources are abundant, easy to find. And coyotes are simply doing what all the other animals are doing, is they're following the resources. In addition to inadvertently feeding the coyotes, there is oddly, it's very common for people to actually be feeding the coyotes. These photos, the photo with the 3 platters of cold cuts was taken in Huntington Beach in the same general area where a child was later bitten on the beach. The other images from Beverly Hills, I know, right? And the one showing the coyote carrying the steak in the mouth was recently taken in the San Fernando Valley. Like these other species on the right, coyotes have adapted to living in proximity to humans. In fact, they can thrive here because we've made the rewards outweigh the risks. But as you'll see later, we're ultimately in charge of this narrative. Okay, we're going to talk about what you can do around your home, closer to home. Consider your property from a coyote's perspective, not just the obvious attractants like compost bins, pet food left out, fallen fruit. Water features are huge. But look at the conditions that attract the animals that the coyotes might want to eat, like rabbits and rodents. Birdseed feeders are a major attractant for rodents, and rodents attract their predators, including coyotes. So to a coyote, a busy bird feeder is like this great place and the surrounding vegetation. So he's going to go there and try hunting every night. Pet food left outside, another very big attractant. It draws wildlife into an area, increasing the potential conflict with cats and the community. But we humans have the power to change this, and there's science to prove it. Thanks to the groundbreaking work of Dr. Numi Mitchell, we have clear evidence that eliminating food sources dramatically decreases coyote activity. You can see the diagram on the left up at the top is where there were food sources, and once those were removed, underneath it, right here, immediately, it stopped. And for example, we had this happen firsthand here in West Hollywood recently. Coyotes were repeatedly visiting a home that had food out and water, and they also, see the bowls? They're not full now because we had them take them away, but there were bowls of food and water, and they were living under, oops, I didn't play it, hold on, why is it not playing? They were living under the house at this same location. It's like, thank you. But once we removed the water and the food, and it was it was just recently, so they didn't have pups yet. We were able to put on a device that lets them come out by themselves and self-relocate We evict them from the house. This is what it looked like. So he put we call it a one-way device, and that was put on, and then he built a customized door to fit tightly, and then painted it. But listen, so about the one-way doors, to be clear, these devices, they're custom built. They're only used in specific situations where we can be sure we're not locking an animal, separating the mother or father from babies that are underneath there. So we have to be really careful when we use them. It's seasonal. But anyway, what you guys can do is walk around your property with fresh eyes, look for places that a coyote could access and use for shelter. And I also want you to go around and look for spots that rodents might be able to access your home, outbuildings, any gaps that are a half an inch and greater. And you'll want to make sure these openings are properly secured, and then take measures at the same time to make sure that the animals, you're not entombing them in your house, but you're allowing them to come out, or you're physically live catching and removing them outside. You can learn more about this process at our website. But look, just a word about poison bait. It doesn't work. It's commonly placed around buildings and homes. What's inside the black box is food. And what's the rule of thumb? Don't feed wildlife. And the wildlife doesn't know it's poison, so they're going to be attracted to it. It's the root cause. They don't fix the intrusion. They don't fix the openings in the house, and they don't do anything really to reduce the population. The only sure way to do it is through what we call exclusion. We're excluding the animals from the home, or whatever it is you want to protect. So again, look around your property, make sure that the home is secure, that no animals are taking up residency, that you're not attracting unwanted visitors. And you might find this helpful. I think we're going to have this up on the website perhaps. It's our Coyote Safe Neighborhood Checklist. Okay, let's talk about other ways you can safeguard your property, especially fencing ideas. Oh, I know what he's doing. He likes light, and so he's like all fascinated by that. Good, stay fascinated. So we're going to talk about some fencing ideas. This is so cool. Like any other dog their size, they can vault 4 feet. Woo! That is so cool. But they can easily scale a 6-foot fence. But there's an answer. This is a coyote-proof fence design that was developed in the late 70s, early 80s, and the key features an outward extension at the top, so it doesn't have to be much more than 5 feet high, but you have to have an extension at the top that angles out about 45 degrees, or something floppy, like the fencing that it gets to is floppy and can't hold it, no footholds. And then an extension at the bottom, a wire apron at the bottom, or skirting, so that the animals can't dig. So it has to be out far enough that the animal's actually standing on the wire itself and trying to dig, and it won't get through. This is what we use, the similar design, the L shape. Oh, what are you doing, dog? You are so bizarre. I just hope he doesn't go sailing off. Okay, you'll catch him. A short fence. Angus, come here. And here it is. We told them just put, increase the height and make it a little floppy. This isn't so floppy, but it stopped the coyote. It stopped it permanently, immediately, like that. We also recommend fully enclosed outdoor areas for smaller pets. This catio is an excellent way to allow cats and dogs to enjoy the sunshine and fresh air and be fully protected. We also recommend these as we're going to go over some repellents and deterrents. This is the Yard Enforcer. It's a motion-activated sprinkler that can be set off day or night. It's a deterrent we've used a number of times very successfully. Here's another effective unit. It has lights that flash and also sounds that can be changed, the volume and everything. Very good. Also, I would not go in this yard. Human effigies, and imagine if you pair it with a light, a motion-activated light where an animal's coming in the backyard, and it keys off that, and then all of a sudden this thing is brightly lit. Yeah, no thank you. Balloons are another one. using thick mylar or latex balloons. Coyotes are really sensitive. Okay. Are you going after what are you going after? You're so bizarre. Oh, it's my bad dog. Okay. I will stop gesticulating. Balloons are quick and easy to start keeping coyotes out of the yard. They're very, very sensitive, so any change, even if you change up your patio furniture one night, they will not like it. Here's a little picture, give you that. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, AI. Let's see here. Fladry, F-L-A-D-R-Y. It's a simple, low-tech line of rope with flags or ribbon tied every 11 or so inches. It's a fluttering, shifting edge, and it's kind of like a wall, a moving wall that coyotes and wolves don't like. They use it a lot during livestock production, and it keeps them out. It's not a sure thing, but it's one thing. Fox lights, they're very durable, well made. They automatically switch on at night, and they flash. What's really important about them, they flash different colors, different intervals. And if you pair it with, it's not my hand, that's good. If you pair it with a talk radio station, wildlife does not like the human voice. And so if you pair it with the talk station, Bobo, come here, baby. Let's get you out of that. Oh, yeah, there's lots of nice things there. So if you pair it with that, it's much more effective. Down. Angus, down. There's lots of glitter up here. There must have been a nice show. Okay. So pairing with a radio is a good idea. And urine. Yeah. Not urine from the fur farms or urine farms, which are not good. Your urine. People urine. All the guys that I tell this to, they go, honey, I can pee on the house. They love it. Or the boys will love to do that. Yeah, okay, good, do it. So it may sound really unconventional, but I tell you it's effective. Now, again, it's a short-term measure. These are all short-term, good if it's paired with something else, other strategies. But we're going to move on, but I want to say that direct actions that you can take, I lost myself, sorry. It was too funny, the urine thing. I want 2 important points. The coyotes are in the landscape because we have done things that invited them, and so we need to turn those tables around and do things that don't invite them anymore and that make it more, instead of hospitable, almost hostile, not welcoming. We don't want to welcome them as much as some of you might love coyotes like I do, but if you love them, you want to keep them away from other people who might hate them. And you want them to learn things, and that's another reason that you might want to have a king and a queen live in their kingdom, is because you can teach those 2 animals that control the kingdom. It's easier to teach those 2 than a continuous influx of transients that are coming in. So that's another reason to enjoy having a kingdom, be in a kingdom. So it's imperative that we focus on reducing our anthropogenic food subsidies that attract and sustain the coyotes and other wildlife in our neighborhoods, because none of those deterrence or scare tactics are going to be fully effective if we don't address those. Remember I said things are temporary? Yeah, it'll work. But if the food is still there or somebody's continuing to feed the animals, then they're not going to work. The coyotes are going to what? Be tolerant. They're going to tolerate it and go, oh, juice is worth the squeeze. I'm going to tolerate that scary clown because there's a big bowl of food in the back. So they're going to learn. They're adaptable, and that's what made them so successful in the first place. So aversion conditioning, what the heck are we talking about that? Aversion conditioning is a suite of tools that we use to reshape coyote behavior. And when we talk about hazing, hazing is just a form of aversion conditioning. If you've ever kept a dog away from your food, you have successfully hazed a canid. And as you may have experienced, some of them, more than others, need to know that you really mean business, and that's the important part of hazing coyotes. Again, hazing is about communicating boundaries, establishing and reestablishing healthy boundaries. The basics is be big, be loud, and assertive. So what do we mean about being big? Sometimes it's something as simple as a trash bag. Trash bags are lightweight, and you can carry them in your back pocket. Make sure that you already undo them because they stick together. So you want to make sure you open it up first and then fold it back and put it in your pocket. So when you bring it out, you'll bring it out and you'll open it up like this if you have 2 hands and you're not holding 3 dogs. And you'll whip it in the air and it'll billow out and it'll be really big. Okay, it is me. And here is Jane Cooper with the City of Belvedere showing how to do it.
And that big noise, but what I'm saying is it's a big, it looks big to the coyote, and it creates that snapping noise.
Another thing, this is my favorite because you don't have to. Thank you. Because you don't have to depend on if the wind is blowing or you have 3 Yorkies on the leash, all that, right? Is a scare stick, and it's this. And we have the materials to make them in the back, and maybe some already made, I think. So this is a scare stick. It's a planter stake, bamboo planter stake with mylar ribbon attached to the top, and this makes a lot of noise, and my dog's going to bark in a minute, but it makes a big noise, right? And it makes you really, really big. You wave it up here. I carry mine in the back of my shirt, tucked in, like a quiver, and then I bring it out when I'm walking. So I've got my hands free. So that's that. Here's Jane Cooper demonstrating.
Go away, coyote!
That's not Jane. That was somebody in Los Angeles who made a bunch of them for her neighborhood, and she put them up at like the different stop signs. So when people were walking dogs, they'd pick one up here, walk by her house where the coyotes had been hanging out, and then drop them off at the next stop sign. But that was Phaedra. Thank you, Phaedra. And this is just the mylar ribbon, and here is Jane Cooper just describing it.
They don't like the mylar.
For the sake of time, I'm going to cut it short. And use your voice. Remember I said that coyotes don't like the human voice. Use your voice. I emphasize that over props, like the hazing stick and the garbage bag, especially in urban areas where coyotes are already desensitized to whistles and car horns. Use your voice instead. So we want you to not rely on the air horn. A lot of places say use these noisemakers, especially in an urban environment. It's not going to work. You need to use your body and your voice. Dave Waddles with Massachusetts Division of Fisheries and Wildlife explained how hazing can be effective when it's done correctly. Let's listen.
And then finally, it's a lack of harassment in body language and submissive body language by people towards coyotes. Coyotes naturally communicate with each other with dominance behavior. It's the dominant animals that get to establish a territory. It's the dominant male and female that get to mate and raise pups. It's the dominant pups that get more food. It's how they've learned to communicate their entire life. Dominance wins. If every time a coyote encounters a person, the person quickly turns and runs the other way, or they quickly jump into their car, or they run inside the house, basically, that's teaching that coyote that it's dominant in the human-coyote relationship. Or people will say, I did haze the coyote just like you told me. I said, what did you do? Well, I yelled at it from the back door and then I closed the door. All that's doing is saying to that coyote, hey, coyote, I'm over here. I'm going to go inside now and hide. You can do whatever you want in my backyard. And that's what these coyotes are learning over time. So changing these few behaviors can alter the way coyotes behave around us.
Excellent. Okay. Some coyotes won't immediately run away when hazed. They may stop a short distance away and kind of turn broadside and stare back at you. And the response should be just keep at it. Stay confident and keep applying that steady pressure, moving towards them, projecting your voice and taking deliberate steps forward until the coyote moves out of sight. That's the right way to haze. Don't expect a coyote to respond to, again, a car horn, or yelling from inside a car or from a balcony. The messaging has to come from the human form and the human voice. Let's look at situations where you don't want to haze. If you encounter a coyote in its own habitat, that's his space, and he stays about 3 to 4 car lengths away and is not coming towards you, let it be. That's its space. Also be mindful of traffic. You don't want to haze a coyote into traffic and cause an accident. And also when a poor animal like this guy is suffering, and he's trying to find a warm place to lie down. He's suffering from mange, but he's loaded with rodenticides in his system from doing his job, from clearing our neighborhoods of mice and rats that people have poisoned. Just so you know that felids, bobcats and coyotes, bobcats and mountain lion system, and something as simple as a mite infestation will take over its entire body. They'll lose weight and they'll die. So it's just no good. The bait is, again, just poisoned food, attracting the animals to your property. When an animal eats the poison, when the animal eats the poisoned rodent, that animal, that coyote, bobcat, mountain lion, hawk, owl, gets a dose of that poison, which can what's called bioaccumulate in its system. It stays in its system for months, even up to a year. And it's a silent killer. It's our modern DDT. You can't see the contamination until it's too late. If they glowed, y'all would be canceling your pest control company monthly thing right now. Anyway, you'll want to report injured or sick coyotes to authorities. Here you have the Wildlife Center. Other places, there is a list provided on that link there. Okay, remember earlier we talked about coyotes shepherding and escorting people, walking their dogs. If you're moving through a coyote territory, a mated pair, king and queen, especially during pup season, this is what you might expect behind you or to your side. Again, they're focused on your dog. So here's how to be protective of your dog. And can I just take a break and say, am I going over? Okay, I'll go over. No, just stop. Turn the lights on if you want me out of here. No? Good. So here's how for you to behave. Keep your dog on a short leash, no longer than 6 feet, and stay alert. Stay off that cell phone. If you encounter one or more coyotes and you have a small dog, pick it up. With a larger dog, keep it close at your side, and then calmly leave the area. Don't turn your back. You want to have eye contact, and use your voice as you go. Be firm and assertive, like, hey, get out of here. If you're really prepared, you're going to have that scare stick in the quiver there, and you'll be able to draw that out if you need to. But let's take a quick look. This guy does an awesome job.
No. Hey! Hey! Get out of here! Hey! Hi! Get out of here!
He does such a good job. And he's got a good non-reactive dog, too. So for sake of time, I'll speed forward here, but he did a super job, yay. So again, when you're out walking your dogs, keep them on a short leash, no longer than 6 feet. Have 1 or 2 hazing props on hand, a scare stick, large trash bag. And just be sure that your dog is desensitized to those items before you go out walking. At home, dogs left unattended in the yard are this picture scares me. I'm like, oh God, I wouldn't do that. I don't know, but that frightens me. I worry about the dog's safety because there are simply too many risks, even in your backyard. Even if you have a really tiny dog, some pet losses initially blamed on coyotes were later confirmed as predation by great horned owls. So it's just stupid dog. So one simple way to reduce this risk is to go outside first. Make your presence known with what? Your voice. And then bring your dog out with you. And in areas where there's known coyote activity, it's best to keep the small dogs on a leash and carry a scare stick with you when you go outside. Just have one at every door. For many of us, our pets are family. And as their guardians, it's our responsibility to protect them. That's exactly why we're sharing these tools and knowledge with you, so you can do just that. To date, this is super important. To date, we have yet to hear from anybody who has followed our recommendations that you're hearing today, experiencing problems with coyotes. So really important. Thank you. I take pride in that. Thanks. So we've talked a lot about what individuals can do and things like removing attractants, using deterrence, safeguarding your beloved pets. And now let's take a broader look at what a community-wide approach might look like. Knowledge is everything. Without it, we're left speculating. And that's where fear can grow out of control. And as we gain knowledge, we begin to see the truth. So think of each piece of knowledge as a pixel, and the picture becomes clearer. The more we collect, the clearer the picture, and that's what communities need to be striving for, is an evidence-based understanding of how coyotes are using your landscape. How many are there? Are there resident pairs, mated pairs? Where do they hang out? Where are their boundaries? Are they behaving normally, or do they show signs of human conditioning? You might be wondering how even it's possible to determine how many coyotes live in a given area, but the truth is coyotes make it surprisingly simple. It's like a mathematical equation. When you confirm you have a king and a queen, then you have two. Things become really predictable. In a resident pair's territory, you know you have the two and potentially a couple of helpers. You can then predict pups will arrive March and April and prepare for the parents to be protective, escorting. Towards summer through fall, you can anticipate increased daytime sightings. That's going to be normal. Your neighbor calls up and you're like, no, that's normal. That's a teenager. Leave it alone. And expect some of the young ones not to respond at hazing at first. And that's our chance to teach them too. You got these little newbies that are coming out in August, September. It's your chance to teach these teenage coyotes to stay away from people. So how do you go about figuring out if you're in a coyote territory or not? This video from LA shows a very typical urban family unit, a male, a female, and a helper. And you'll notice that the one appears pregnant. This was about, I want to say 3 weeks ago, so it's perfect timing that she would be pregnant at that time, a little bulge. And from my tracking coyotes, I've learned that they have this little triangle shape you can see where the arrow is pointing on the right. And then notice that the other guy, he has a white tipped tail. So you can start identifying these individuals in your neighborhood and understanding whether or not they might be a mated pair. If these were not related coyotes, they wouldn't be traveling together. Notice the belly on the left on this one, again, pregnant. Very subtle, not so subtle, is them marking their territory. And then later, when they're nursing, of course, you can tell that, okay, that's a nursing mom. You've got babies somewhere. In my work assessing coyote populations, tools like this surveillance camera are invaluable. And there's good news, is because you probably all have security cameras, or most of you might have security cameras on your house. You can see what's going on at night. Do you have coyote visitors? And when a community comes together and starts sharing this footage, the sightings, the pieces begin to tell a story. This is one in Pasadena where we captured, is it playing? Oh, sorry, for some reason it didn't play. We were capturing coyotes going through a fence. We confirmed that they were actually using a hole in a fence to access a street where there had been altercations. So ideally, sorry he's being so silly. Ideally, oh, you could take his leash off. Ideally, all non-emergency reports, so not emergencies, that would go to 911, but non-emergency reports, sightings, encounters, unusual behavior that's not an emergency, should go into a centralized reporting system, like one single source of data collection, and so that the truth can kind of emerge. You can start to see where there are hot spots and get somebody out there to maybe correct a human-conditioned coyote's behavior. If your community already has that, then that's good, but it's something to consider making even better. I use Google Forms to collect data. You can ask a lot of really good questions. The direction of travel, how many were there? And especially the date and time is so important. And did you have a dog with you when it was following you? Super important questions to ask. I'm a visual person, so this is just a sample of the maps I create for myself and doing the investigative work. In Los Angeles, I do collect the data sightings myself voluntarily. So while the data collection, like the reports and logging and mapping, can be done by a volunteer group, because of its importance, it really should be part of or in conjunction with a municipal response plan, like a citywide plan, and that'll ensure credibility and consistency. Having a response plan in place lets you be proactive rather than reactive. It allows you to make the decisions based on the knowledge, the science, and we can help tailor a program that meets various communities' needs, depending. Especially the most important thing I find is the behavior classification guide, and it's for first responders who are going out there to respond to somebody's call about a coyote acting weird, for example. It'll say, okay, if it's doing this, then our response is that. So it kind of lays it out ahead of time, being proactive rather than reactive. And it also includes when an animal might be removed. If it's a sick coyote and needs to come in for evaluation and potential rehabilitation, it should be brought in. Or if it's actually, if it's a bona fide risk to the public, and that needs to be clearly investigated, then yes, that animal might need to be removed. Having a response plan in place, again, lets you be proactive. Let me just mention coyote trapping laws for a moment. Most coyotes are so intelligent, the adults, not the juveniles necessarily, but the adults, they don't go into cage traps like this. So most trappers use what's called a neck snare. So just a warning to turn away in a second. The next slide shows a dead coyote. So 1, 2, 3. Even when the neck snares are fitted with stops to prevent strangulation, animals still endure extreme stress and pain as they struggle. If the animal's alive, when they get there, they're either shot or they're put into a gas chamber. So I'm done with showing the dead coyote. The trapper might resort to killing the animal in this gas chamber. It would look something like this. It's a barbaric, inhumane method, and it is not approved by the American Veterinary Medical Association. Thankfully, California has some of the most restrictive rules, regulations in the country. These are the trapping regulations. One must have every single trap, whether it's a snare trap or a cage trap, and I'm not talking about mice or rats right now, but any other trap has to be marked with an identifying number of that trapper. If it's the trapper, it's his license number. If it's a homeowner, they have to call the Department of Fish and Wildlife's revenue branch and get a number that associates them with the trap, and they put the number on the trap. Another one is requires that animals either be released on site or killed on site. They cannot be transported elsewhere, which trappers love to do because they don't want you to see what actually happens to the animals. They cannot be transported elsewhere. And relocation is prohibited in California for good reason. Research shows that animals that are relocated often die trying to come home. It causes them tremendous stress and suffering. So thankfully, California is progressive on this and does not allow relocation. It also separates mothers from their young. Finally, my favorite, 465.5 G3. It's the 150-yard rule. It is unlawful for anyone, property owner or licensed trap property rights. In the United States, wildlife is not owned by individuals or agencies. It's held in trust for the benefit of all people, present and future. This principle is known as the public trust doctrine, and it establishes the legal and ethical duty for governments to protect their wild resources as a shared public resource. So this trapping regulation provides neighbors a right to a say, a voice in what happens to their community's wildlife. Yay. Here's the thing to understand, that removal, lethal control, has never, ever, ever been effective in reducing coyote populations or remedying conflicts with coyotes. Not ever. Time and time again, research concludes that despite repeated removal efforts, coyote totals rebounded and sometimes even spiked after lethal control measures. And here is, we're going to conclude soon with a biologist from the, let me pronounce this, Narragansett Bay Coyote Study. She explains it very nicely.
With lethal control, often people shoot out the animals that are defending a territory and keeping other coyotes out. If you shoot a hole in that territorial boundary and 50 transients available to colonize, a lot of those animals will flow in, and you'll actually have more coyotes than you had to start with.
So how do we manage coyotes?
Basically by managing ourselves.
It's so true. Their behavior, when we want to impact the coyote's behavior, it starts with us, a change in our behavior. So just think about being coyote smart, just like people learn to live safely in bear country, taking precautions to live safely among bears. We need to take precautions when living around coyotes, which is pretty much everywhere. Once again, let me show a clip from Dave Wattles on how our human behavior shapes coyote behavior.
This is because human behavior is a huge driver of wildlife behavior. As we've talked about a couple times now, I'm not going to hammer this too much more, intentional feeding. That is driving these things. If we remove the intentional feeding, there are very, very, very few bites of people by coyotes. Far, far more common, fortunately, is only intentional feeding. And this, I guarantee, is happening in your community, and I guarantee it's happening in some of your yards right now. This is the foods that we talked about before, the bird feeders, the compost, the pet food, the unsecured garbage, the free meals that coyotes are getting around our yards. These free meals are training coyotes that the best place to find food is in your yard, in your neighborhood. It's increasing the level of interaction you have with them. It's increasing the chances that there's going to be negative encounters with your pets. And so simply addressing these foods around our homes and our communities is going to decrease the presence of coyotes there. Also, because you're removing those foods that are supplementing the natural foods, over time, if you remove these foods, you're actually going to control more than I can as a manager the number of coyotes that live in your area.
Yep. So to drive this point home, bear with me. This is a ridiculously simplified example, but this is based on science. When coyotes have access to abundant food subsidies, their territories can be really small. Remember, we talked about a half square mile. But when those subsidies are removed, when we do a good job at clearing up our yards and making sure they're not getting food there, trash is picked up, so the city does a good job at doing that, that's when the coyote's territory has to expand. It sounds counterintuitive, but we want the king and the queen to expand their territory because remember, they're keeping everybody else out. So instead of this, it could look like that. They're less dense in the landscape, and that's what we want. And I think that that's a shared goal that every one of us, whether you love coyotes or hate coyotes, I think that's a shared mission, is to have fewer of them on the urban landscape, because they tend to get in trouble with people who want to get rid of them. It's just healthier for them to live on their natural food. And they do us a great service by getting rid of the mice and rats. So the purpose of this presentation was to equip you with this knowledge, the know-how to prevent conflicts and keep pets safe at home and within your neighborhood. More broadly, we hope it encourages community groups and municipalities, this municipality perhaps, to adopt a very proactive, make sure it has a proactive science-based approach to coyote management. And in general, I hope it influences the way that you speak about coyotes. And with that, I will conclude. Thank you.
I just want to remind everyone, too, that a lot of these tools we can use for a lot of different wildlife species, too. So whether it's the nuisance raven or it's the nuisance rats or the raccoons, right? If there are resources, wild animals will come, and it's an us problem, so it's an us solution that we've got to fix. We can't villainize these animals for just trying to survive. So take all these tips and use them for any animal, right? Thank you.